Chapter 14. She had to follow it. Despite the sick fear coursing through her, Lucy knew she had no other choice. She had to follow it, and she had to find it. But where? It didn't seem to be coming from one particular spot, or even from one specific direction, but rather permeated the air around her like a fine, invisible mist. Very deliberately this time, Lucy breathed it in. Sweet like before, delicate like before, only this time stirring something deep within her, as though long-dulled senses were struggling to awake. Several girls walked by and gave her strange looks. Didn't they smell it, Lucy wondered? How can they not smell it? Such an unusual fragrance, tantalizing, weaving its way through the festival, separate and distinct among the millions of other aromas hanging in the thick night air. She didn't go back the way she'd come. Instead, she passed bumper cars and a petting zoo, and then she began walking faster, making her way behind a barn where an auctioneer competed with enthusiastic bingo players. She could smell fried chicken and fried pies, popcorn and cotton candy, and still that heavenly fragrance, wafting just out of reach. She turned a corner and walked faster, past country singers on makeshift stages, games of darts, tables of homemade pickles and jams. The smell was getting stronger now. She could feel that it was close. As she broke into a run, she suddenly spotted a big orange tent ahead of her with a huge display of scarecrows around it. Scarecrows. She could see the whimsical sign over the entrance, "Pin the nose on the scarecrow," and the boisterous line of kids waiting to take their turns. Isn't this where Angela's supposed to be working? Mumbling apologies, Lucy pushed her way to the front. It didn't make sense, but the fragrance actually seemed stronger here, more tangible than any other place she'd been so far, almost as though she could reach out and touch it and hold it in her hand. If only she could find Angela, she was sure her cousin would confirm it. How could anyone forget that curious aroma once they'd breathed it in? "Hey, get to the end of the line!" A solemn-faced girl stopped her at the door, holding up one hand while trying to blindfold two squirming kids with the other. "Aren't you a little old for this game?" Lucy hurriedly identified herself. "Sorry, I'm Angela's cousin. Angela Foster? Do you know where she is?" "I thought you looked familiar. You were in some of my classes today." The girl nodded, though her expression didn't change. "Angela's having a smoke." "I really need to find her." "Go around back. I just saw her talking to some guy out there a second ago." What a surprise. "Thanks." Lucy didn't waste any time. As she slipped around the side of the tent, she saw that it backed up to a fence, with just a narrow grassy space between. Thick woods pressed so closely from the other side that some of the trees hung over, their branches practically sweeping the ground. In spite of the festivities going on in front, it felt weirdly isolated here, shadowy and claustrophobic. "Angela?" Turning the corner, Lucy stopped. The light was dim at best, yet she thought she saw the glimmer of a cigarette at the opposite end of the tent. "Angela? It's me, Lucy." Without warning, something soft slid over her forehead, covered her eyes. With a startled cry, Lucy reached up and felt something like cloth, felt it being tied snugly at the back of her head, and realized it was a blindfold. "Angela, cut it out. This isn't funny." "Did you come to play?" the voice whispered. Lucy stiffened. She could feel someone now, a body standing close behind her. Someone tall, someone strong, pressed lightly against her back. Someone who wasn't Angela. "This isn't funny," she managed to choke out. "Kids playing pranks. Friends of Angela, maybe. Or just a case of mistaken identity. That's it. They think I'm someone else. They must think I'm Angela." "I'm not Angela," she said, more forcefully this time. "You've got the wrong girl." "On the contrary," the voice murmured. I've got exactly the girl I want. Her body turned to ice. Her mind fought for calm. There were people only yards away, yet she was alone. She could scream, but she doubted anyone would hear her over the noise of the fair. Should she scream anyway? Try to run? She could feel his body, the lean, firm length of it, touching hers, yet not forcefully, not threateningly, she realized with slow surprise. He wasn't even holding her. He was only holding the blindfold at the back of her head, and as Lucy's heart hammered wildly in her chest, she tried to keep her voice even. "I think you've made a mistake," she said. "I'm not from here, and I don't know anyone. I'm just trying to find my cousin." "But you haven't. It seems you've found me instead." Again her mind raced. Had she heard that voice before? Did she recognize it? Anything about it? He was talking so softly, as though his lips barely moved. A low whisper from deep in his throat, warm and resonant, thick and smooth as... what? Lucy's breath caught. His hand slid leisurely down the back of her neck, lingered upon her left shoulder. Every instinct told her to break away, to tear off the blindfold and run, yet her body felt strangely paralyzed. "Where's Angela?" she demanded. Her voice had begun to quiver, and she knew he could hear it, though she tried to disguise it with anger. "They said she was out here with someone. You must have seen her." Something brushed gently across her mouth. "You're bleeding," he murmured. She'd forgotten the cut on her upper lip, but now she felt it swell, felt the tender skin split open. A warm drop of blood seeped out and began to trickle down. Lips closed over hers. A kiss so tender that time faded and stopped. So passionate it sucked her breath away. Lucy's senses reeled. Searing heat swept through her, pain and pleasure throbbing through her veins. With a helpless moan, she leaned into him and realized with a shock the kiss had ended. At last she ripped the blindfold from her eyes. The scent that had lured her here hung heavy in the night, though its fragile sweetness now held a trace of something more, something musky and faintly metallic. Trembling violently, Lucy stared into the shadows. But she was alone, and she was cold. Chapter 15. It can't be 10:30. As Lucy paused outside the scarecrow tent, she shook her wrist, tapped her watch, then held it to her ear and listened. Yes, it seemed to be working fine. But there's no way it can be 10:30 already. "It's 10:30, the serious-faced girl said again. She was still trying to blindfold kids and maintain order at the same time, and as she frowned at Lucy, she added, "Did you have an accident or something?" "Accident?" Lucy echoed. "No, what do you mean?" "You're white as a sheet, and your lips all swollen." Lucy put a hand to her mouth and immediately winced. The skin on her lip felt pulpy and tender. She could feel a thin crust of dried blood. "Are you sure Angela's not here?" she asked weakly. "I told you she left at 10:30. She said she had to meet her cousin, you, at the car." "Right. Thanks anyway." Her knees had turned to rubber. She wasn't sure she could walk 3 feet, much less the entire distance back to the parking lot. Her insides wouldn't stop shaking. She felt strangely disoriented. She'd stepped right into a dangerous situation with her eyes wide open, and she'd simply stayed in the middle of it, simply allowed the rest to happen. What in God's name is wrong with me? She was probably lucky to be alive. The stranger, whoever he was, could have done 100 horrible things to her. And what did I do? I stood there and let him. I let him. Shame and confusion flushed through her. She could still feel his hand on her neck, on her shoulder, his body touching hers. And his kiss. That unexpected moment, senses reeling, his low, whispery voice, intimate somehow, almost as though he knew her. Her memory groped back, searching, trying to recall someone, anyone he might have been. The guys from the cemetery last night? Had they followed her here, intent on more jokes? It seemed highly unlikely, given the disciplinary meeting tonight. Some guy at school she didn't know. Byron? Byron had a low, deep voice, but Byron had seemed agitated when she'd seen him earlier. He'd been tense and upset, and why follow her and frighten her when he'd already asked her to meet him secretly tomorrow? And what about the smell? Just thinking of that brought a fresh wave of panic, because there was no explanation for it, none she could possibly think of, none that made any sort of sense. Before, she'd been almost willing to consider the air freshener theory, but now, as Lucy wandered out of the exit gates, she wished she had someone to leave with. The festival was still in full swing, and only a handful of people were straggling toward the parking lot. Within minutes, they'd located their cars, leaving her to walk the rest of the way alone. The lights grew dim behind her. The noise began to fade. Out here in the field, it was eerily quiet. Now, where exactly did we park? Lucy stopped, cursing herself for her horrible sense of direction. It had gotten her in major trouble last night. She wasn't about to let it happen again. She glanced around, trying to find some sort of landmark, but all she could see was row after row of cars. Why hadn't she thought of that earlier? Picked out a checkpoint to help her find her way back? Frustrated, Lucy went on, trying to dodge puddles and sinkholes in the dark. Maybe Angela was in the car waiting for her. Hadn't that girl at the tent said she'd already left? "Angela!" Lucy called. "Angela! Are you out here?" No answer, just her own voice drifting back to her on the chilly breeze. Lucy tried to walk faster. Why hadn't anyone thought to put temporary lighting out here? Why hadn't she thought to bring a flashlight? Why hadn't she and Angela agreed to meet somewhere inside the festival where it was bright and crowded and safe? God, it's really, really spooky out here. She dug her hands in her pockets and felt the keyless entry to Angela's car. Of course! Pulling it out, Lucy immediately hit a button. She could hear the blip of a horn in the distance, and she thought she saw the faraway flicker of headlights. Well, at least I'm headed in the right direction. With the help of the mechanism, she finally spotted the Corvette, still about 10 rows away, right on the end near the woods. The ground was even soggier out here, forcing her to walk close to the tree line. As she tramped her way through the weeds, she suddenly lifted her head to listen. What was that? She was sure she'd heard a sound just then, a faint scuffling off through those trees to her right, as though some animal were moving invisibly through the darkness. A deer, just like last night when I thought I saw something. Just a deer in the woods, that's all it is. Lucy stopped. The noise stopped too. Very slowly she turned her head, eyes probing the bare, shifting branches of the trees, the deep black underbelly of the forest. Or maybe it's a bear. Bears live close to lakes, don't they? Or a wolf, or... She broke into a run, because suddenly she didn't want to think what else it could be, this invisible presence keeping pace alongside her, skulking through the dark where she couldn't see. It was last night's horror all over again. With a burst of speed, Lucy veered off between the cars, away from the woods, punching the entry over and over again, so the horn of the Corvette kept blasting and the headlights kept flashing on and off, on and off. God, oh God, help me. But it was behind her now. She could hear it thudding over the ground, gaining on her, coming closer, closer. "Damn it, Lucy!" Angela yelled. "Wait up!" With a cry, Lucy whirled around just as her cousin closed the distance between them. "Angela, you idiot! You scared the life out of me!" "I did!" Breaking to a stop, Angela tried to catch her breath. "You're the one running away! I thought something was after you!" "Well, I thought something was too," Lucy exploded. "Were you in the woods just now?" "What would I be doing in the woods?" "I heard something in the woods." "Oh, for God's sake, there's like about 1,000,000 things you could have heard in the woods." Angela gestured angrily toward the trees. "And where the hell have you been? I waited and waited by the car, but you never came. And you have the damn keys." Lucy thought quickly. There was no way she was going to mention what had happened back there at the tent. Not now. Not ever. "Sorry, I guess I'd lost track of time." "I guess you did. Come on, let's get out of here." Nodding, Lucy followed her to the car and got in, but not without a last anxious look at the woods. Had something really been there, following her? During the last few days, she'd lost so much faith in her instincts, she didn't know what to believe anymore. She locked the doors and windows, but even after leaving the parking lot, Lucy still couldn't relax. The narrow, winding road was even harder to maneuver now that full night had fallen, and it took all her concentration to miss the endless potholes. Even Angela seemed edgier than usual, Lucy observed, watching the girl light up one cigarette after another, then mash them out half-smoked. "Are you okay?" Lucy finally asked her. Angela pointed to the clock on the dashboard. "I just want to get home before Irene does, that's all. Thank God she's going out of town tomorrow night, so I can have some peace. Lucy, hurry!" "I'm hurrying." "Well, hurry faster." Glancing at her, Lucy sighed. "With all these stupid holes around here, if I hurry any faster, we're likely to bounce right off and— Look out!" As Lucy's eyes shot back to the road, she saw a quick streak of darkness in front of them. Jerking the wheel, she swerved the car sharply to the right, then slammed on the brakes as they slid dangerously along the shoulder. Angela gaped at her in alarm. "Did you see that?" "I saw something, but what was it?" The Corvette had stopped now, and the two of them peered nervously out into the darkness. There was nothing on the road, nothing moving in the beam of the headlights, nothing stirring at the sides of the car. "We didn't hit anything, did we?" Angela finally asked. "I don't think so. I didn't feel any sort of impact, did you?" Angela shook her head. "It looked big. I mean, I only saw it for a second, but it was big." "A deer, maybe?" "No, it didn't seem like a deer. And it was so fast. Just there and gone. I mean, what could move so fast that you can't even see it?" "I don't know," Lucy answered uneasily. She made a quick check in the rearview mirror. "Are you okay?" "Yeah, I just hope my car is." "For my sake, I hope so too." But the minute Lucy hit the accelerator, she heard the furious spinning of the tires. "Oh, great," she muttered. "Oh, great, what?" "We're stuck." "Stuck?" Angela seemed incredulous. "How can we be stuck?" "Because there's about a foot of mud out there, and we drove right into it." "No, you drove right into it." Shifting around, Angela unlocked her door. "If you've scratched anything out—" "Stop," Lucy said. "Don't open it." As Angela turned toward her in bewilderment, Lucy reached out slowly, put a hand on her arm. "Lock your door," she whispered. "Now." Even in the dim interior, she saw Angela go pale. She waited for the click of the lock, then leaned slowly toward the windshield. "What is it?" Angela asked tightly. "I saw something." "Are you sure? Where?" Lucy pointed. The car had skidded at a 45-degree angle, its headlights slicing off through the trees at the side of the road. As Lucy watched the illuminated pocket of woods, she felt a chill creep up her spine. "Something's out there, Angela. It's watching us. Don't you feel it?" The girl's eyes widened slowly. Then she gave a forced laugh. "Come on, Lucy, you don't really expect me to fall for that, do you?" But Lucy's tone was dead serious. "Do you have your phone with you?" "Well, sure, but—" "Call 911. "Stop it! This isn't funny, and I don't believe you anyway." "Well, you better believe me, because I'm telling you there's something out there, and—" As Lucy's sentence trailed off, Angela threw a quick, wary glance out her window. "Look, you're just shook up because of what happened, but I'm telling you that thing was moving fast. Whatever it was, it's long gone by now." "Give me your phone," Lucy said tersely. Before Angela could stop her, she grabbed the girl's purse and started rummaging through it, but Angela quickly snatched it back. "What are you doing?" Angela snapped at her. "That's mine!" "Your phone, Angela, your phone!" Lucy's voice was louder now, thin with rising panic. "Hurry up! Call 911! Do it, Angela! Call for help!" But she could see now that it was finally sinking in. Angela's eyes the size of saucers, her hands digging through her purse, tossing things out, searching for her cell phone. "This is sick, Lucy, do you hear me? This is sick!" "It's coming closer! Make the call!" Lucy's heart was racing. She could feel something out there, something furtive, something evil. A sense of danger so intense that every nerve vibrated with terror. It was standing just out of sight, standing just beyond the trees, one with the woods, one with the darkness, and it was waiting to strike, waiting to see what they would do. "Oh, God," Lucy whispered. "Oh, my God." "What is it?" Angela shouted, thoroughly frightened now. She dumped her purse upside down, the contents spilling everywhere, shaking it back and forth, helplessly close to tears. "I can't find it! I can't find my phone!" "It's too late," Lucy cried. Something hit the side of the car. As both girls screamed, the Corvette rocked from the impact, and there was a frantic clawing at Angela's door. "Get down!" Lucy yelled, even as she grabbed the girl and forced her to the floor. "What is it?" Angela shrieked. "I can't see anything!" Once more something lunged at the side. As the car swayed and slid, they heard a scratching at the door handle, as though something were trying to wrench it open. Terrified, Angela huddled beneath the dashboard, while Lucy whirled around just in time to see a dark shape dart behind the car. "Oh God, it's coming to my side!" She leaned on the horn, the harsh sound splitting through the night, and then she gunned the motor. The tires spun in the muck. Without even thinking, Lucy shifted forward, then back, forward, then back. Tires whining, horn blasting, Angela screaming. The car lurched free. Without warning, it popped from the mud and skidded sideways onto the road. Clutching the wheel for dear life, Lucy floored the accelerator, not stopping, not even slowing down till they reached the main highway once again. "Stop it, Angela," she said then quietly. "We're safe now." "Safe?" The girl was practically hysterical. "Safe? How do you know we're safe? What was that thing?" Lucy shook her head and said nothing. "Then how do you know it didn't follow us? How do you know it's not sitting up there on the roof right now, or riding back there in the trunk?" "Because it's not." Lucy's lips pressed into a tight line. "It's not. I just know." As they paused at a stop sign, she shifted in her seat and took a long, deliberate look through every single window. How do I know? She wondered. How do I really know? There were houses around them now, and quiet tree-lined streets, and the peaceful silence of neighborhoods settled in for the night. But Angela was crying, and Lucy's heart was still beating wildly in her chest. How did I know that thing was out there to begin with? Chapter 16. It was a miracle they got home before Irene. The girls pulled into the garage with just minutes to spare, leaving no time to examine the car or discuss what had happened back there on that dark country road. Not that Angela would have wanted to anyway, Lucy figured, which was perfectly fine with her. Trying to rationalize it to herself was hard enough. She stood in the shower, trembling beneath the hard spray of the water, still badly shaken from the attack on the car, still badly frightened from her encounter with the stranger behind the tent. Only frightened. Again, she berated herself for being so careless, for putting herself in such a dangerous situation. Yet at the same time, she could still hear that low, whispery voice, feel the gentle urgency of that kiss. How could cold, stark fear be so alluring at the same time? She was furious with herself for even considering such a notion. What's wrong with me? She turned the water as hot as she could stand it, washing her hair, her face, her lips, every inch of her body, as though she might be able to wash away every memory, every horror, every single event that had touched her in the last 2 days. All she wanted to do was crawl into bed and have a peaceful night of dreamless, uninterrupted sleep. So it surprised her when she heard a soft knock on her bedroom door about an hour later and saw Angela peek in. "We need to talk," Angela said. Lucy nodded and motioned her inside. She'd been sitting up too, unable to relax. Now she scooted over so Angela could plop down beside her. The girl's dark raccoon eyes had been wiped off for the night, her long hair braided down her back. She was wearing a polka-dot flannel nightshirt and looked almost normal. "I can't stop thinking about what happened," Angela blurted out. Her expression seemed strained and almost embarrassed. Her hands twisted nervously in her lap. "What do you think that was? I mean, really?" "I don't know. I've been thinking about it too, and I honestly don't know." "Well, it must have been a wolf," Angela announced flatly. "Are there wolves around here?" "Well, usually farther north, but sometimes they leave their territory, right? I mean, like if they're hungry or certain areas get too populated. I've heard of animals doing that." Lucy wanted to believe her. "It's possible, I guess." "But it could have been a bear, too, maybe," Angela mused. "I was thinking maybe it was wounded. When an animal's wounded, it makes them kind of crazy, and then they attack things they wouldn't normally attack, right? I mean, haven't you heard of that?" Lucy nodded. "It makes sense." "So if something was hurt, and hungry, and smelled us in the car—" Angela paused, her eyes almost pleading. "It could have happened that way, right?" Sure it could." "Great." Angela let out a huge sigh of relief. "And it's probably not a good idea to tell anyone else about it, do you think? Just so we don't cause a panic or something. And especially Irene. Because of her worrying, I mean." "Absolutely. Our secret." Another relieved sigh. Angela stretched her willowy limbs, then hopped off the bed. "Great. Good night, then." "Good night." Mildly amazed, Lucy watched her go. How did Angela do it, she wondered? How could she make something go away so easily, or not even exist at all, just by refusing to accept it? "But isn't that what you're doing?" "No," Lucy mumbled to herself. "That's different." "Is it?" And in that very instant, razor-sharp images began strobing through her mind. Images of Byron at the cemetery, Byron at the festival, Byron trying to talk to her, to warn her about something. "I want to help you. Some things take time to believe in. We don't have a lot of time. Something happened, something important. Touched you, was passed on to you. You need to understand." As Lucy pressed her hands to her head, it was as if she could suddenly feel all those crazy puzzle pieces tumbling through her mind, falling into place, beginning to make a frightening kind of sense. Could it possibly be true? Could there honestly be a connection between Byron's warnings and the bizarre events that had begun to darken her life? No reason in the world to trust me. Have to meet me tomorrow." "You're right," Lucy mumbled again. "I don't have the slightest reason to trust you." "Did you say something?" Angela asked. Lucy jumped and stared at the door. Angela was back again, propped in the threshold, smoking a cigarette and frowning at her. "I didn't say anything," Lucy muttered. Her cousin shrugged. "You'll need to get my car washed in the morning." "I will?" "Well, yeah. Irene didn't see it tonight because someone picked her up and she didn't go in the garage. But tomorrow she'll probably be using her car, and if she sees the shape my car's in, she's bound to know we were out tonight." "But what about the damage? How are you going to explain all those scratches?" "Vandalism happens in the school parking lot, Lucy." Angela gazed down at the floor, her expression bland. "It happens all the time, so just take it to the car wash, okay?" "And who was your servant this time last year?" Angela rolled her eyes. "Very funny. Just do it." "No, I won't do it. If she sees your dirty car, too bad." Grumpily, Lucy stacked up her pillows and fell back on top of them. "And you can stop giving me all these excuses about Irene worrying. I heard you two this morning, and I know you're grounded." Angela stared. A flush went over her face, though from anger or embarrassment Lucy couldn't tell. She hesitated a moment, as if trying to decide what to do. Then, with a sound of exasperation, she tossed her cigarette into the toilet, walked back to the bed, and flounced down on the edge. "If you knew, then why'd you take me tonight?" she demanded. "Because I thought it would help things between us. I wanted us to be friends." "That's stupid. How could we ever be friends?" "My point exactly. Which is why I'm not going to get your car washed tomorrow. If Irene finds out I left tonight, she'll cancel my credit cards." Lucy shrugged. She reached over and flipped off the lamp. Angela flipped it back on. "Fine," Angela pouted. "Look, if I tell you something really important and really secret about someone I met tonight, then will you wash my car?" Lucy stared at her. Really important? Really secret? What could be more important than being stalked, than girls in graves, than hungry predators on lonely roads? What could be more secret than strangers with blindfolds and painful visions and disembodied voices in bathrooms? She'd had enough. She switched off the light. Angela switched it back on. "Okay," Angela sighed. "I'll be your friend. Are you satisfied?" "Angela, you don't know the meaning of the word." The girl looked blank. "Friend? Or satisfied?" "Neither one. Now get out of here and let me go to sleep." This time, when she reached for the lamp, Angela grabbed her arm. "I'll tell her you took my car. I'll tell her you stole my keys, and I didn't know anything about it. And if you deny it, I'll tell her you're lying, that you sneaked out to meet somebody." Lucy gave a humorless laugh. "Yeah, that's a good one, Angela. I'm sure she'll believe that. And while you're at it, be sure to tell her about the wild orgy I had out there behind the tents." It slipped out before she even thought. She saw Angela's eyes go wide, her face go red, saw her cheeks flinch as she drew in her breath. "You bitch," she muttered. "You were spying on me." "What?" "Angela, no, I wasn't." Shocked at her cousin's reaction, Lucy tried to take her arm, but Angela was already halfway across the room. "I was joking," Lucy insisted. "I was joking about myself. I don't even know what you're talking about." "The hell you don't," Angela said furiously. "How long did you stand there watching anyway? And it wasn't an orgy." "I wasn't watching anything. I was just making fun of myself." She saw Angela turn toward her then, a range of emotions flickering over the girl's face. Indecision, guilt, embarrassment, and the horrible realization that she'd just given herself away. Well, me too," she announced, with a forced little laugh. "I was just joking, too. I just wanted to see what you'd say." Lucy stared at her as though she'd lost her mind. "Okay," she offered tentatively. "So we're even, right?" "Right." The laugh again, almost brittle. "Okay, then. Great jokes. Good night." "Good night." Lucy paused, then, "Angela?" "What?" "How late does Irene sleep on Saturdays?" "Till around 10. Why?" "I'll get your car washed. But I want to leave early, just in case she gets up." "Like how early?" "Like before 9. Chapter 17. It was no problem slipping out of the house the next morning. Everyone else was still asleep, and since Angela had already given her the keys and explicit directions to the car wash, Lucy was away in no time at all. The car wash hadn't opened yet. Checking her watch, she saw that it was only 8:30, so she made a quick run through a fast food drive-thru, then sat in the parking lot, trying to digest both her food and her thoughts. "This is really stupid. Byron probably won't even be there, and if I do go, and it really is another joke, I'll never be able to show my face anywhere in Pine Ridge again." But obviously he'd gotten there before her. As Lucy drove slowly past the church, she noticed an old Jeep pulled alongside the curb in front, but not a soul to be seen. Strange that Byron would park here in plain sight, she found herself thinking, especially since he'd made this meeting sound so secret and so mysterious. Still, this was an abandoned church, and it was in an abandoned area. Not like there's going to be anyone around here watching us or wondering what we're up to. Besides, seeing his Jeep out here in the open made her feel a whole lot safer. Lucy parked, then made her way slowly up the crumbled walkway. The church had looked so spooky the night of the storm, and here in the daylight it didn't look a whole lot better. Like the original section of the cemetery stretching off behind it, tall weeds had taken over, and shadows lurked beneath the gnarled branches of giant old trees. The steps to the door were rotted. The bell tower didn't look at all sturdy. Several stained glass windows were broken, and dead ivy crept over the walls. It was very still. No breeze this morning, and frostily cold. Lucy's breath hung in the air as she glanced nervously back at her car. She'd parked close for a quick getaway. She told herself to go inside, then stopped with her hand on the door. "You're doing it again, walking right into an isolated, unknown place. Have you completely lost your mind?" "When girls in movies did this, they always got killed," she reminded herself. But this wasn't a movie, this was real life. My life. And she needed answers, and right now it seemed that Byron was her only chance at getting those answers. She saw then that one of the large wooden doors was slightly open, that there were muddy footprints on the steps leading inside. Very slowly, Lucy inched open the door. "Hello? Is anyone here?" The silence was unnerving. Again she glanced back over her shoulder, but nothing moved within those calm black shadows. "Byron?" she called softly. "Hello?" Lucy strained her ears through the quiet. Had the door creaked then, just ever so slightly, as though someone might be pushing it from the other side? Instinctively she released it and stepped back. "Hello?" Why wasn't he watching for her? Why wasn't he out here waiting to see if she showed up? It had been his idea, after all. If he'd wanted her here so badly, why wasn't he coming out to meet her? But it was very cold, she reasoned, and it made perfect sense that he'd probably go inside to wait. And these doors, made of such thick, solid oak, surely muffled any sounds from outside. Don't be so paranoid. Angela knows him. Apparently all the girls at school are in love with him. It's not like he's some total creep that nobody's ever heard of. Still, Lucy suddenly wished she'd told somebody where she was headed this morning. Just in case. Okay, here goes. She took a deep breath and yanked hard at the door. As it moved on rusty hinges, a low groan echoed back through the vast interior of the church. She smelled dampness and old stone, cold, stale air, long unbreathed, long undisturbed. Shivering, Lucy stood there a moment, her eyes trying to adjust to the gloom. As the door swung shut with a dull thud, she moved farther into the vestibule. "Byron?" The church was still sadly, hauntingly beautiful. In the muted, stained-glass light, Lucy could see saints gazing down at her from niches along the walls, their painted faces filled with loving concern. Wooden pews stood empty, sifted with dust, and high in the rafters of the arched ceiling, doves fluttered gently as she passed beneath them. Lucy walked slowly up the center aisle. She could see the main altar ahead of her, draped with a dingy white cloth, decorated with arrangements of long-dead flowers. Despite the eeriness of the place, Lucy felt strangely fascinated. She stopped before the altar, trailing her fingers over the musty cloth, over faded droplets of candle wax, over brittle chrysanthemum petals. Even her heart seemed to echo in here. She could hear the faint beat of her pulse. God, it's so cold. Blowing on her hands, Lucy turned in a slow circle and glanced uneasily at her surroundings. Wasn't her imagination, or had the temperature dropped about 10 degrees just since she'd walked through the door? You are imagining things. Yet as she blew once more on her hands, she could see her breath forming, a soft, vapory cloud right in front of her face. "Byron!" Her own voice whispered back to her from the shadows. The doves stirred restlessly with a muffled beating of wings. "Come on, Byron. If you have something to say, you'd better say it, now." This is stupid. He's not here, and he's obviously not going to show up, and all you're doing is creeping yourself out. With growing anxiety, Lucy gnawed on a fingernail. Not again. Not again. What did you expect, anyway? Haven't you learned your lesson by now? But she'd wanted this time to be different. She'd wanted so much to believe that Byron could help her. She'd wanted to prove to herself once and for all that it wasn't just her, that there were reasons and answers and explanations for the things that were happening, that she wasn't just making up dreams in her mind. Something's here. Lucy gasped as a sliver of dread snaked its way up her back and lodged at the base of her neck. Something's here. Instantly, her eyes swept over the walls and ceiling, the massive wooden cross above the altar, the partially shattered glass of the crucifixion behind it, the confessionals in the darkened aisles along the side. The confessionals. A soft sound slithered through the church. A sound like... what? A sigh of wind? A flurry of feathers? Or... breathing? Lucy's body stiffened, every nerve electrified. No, it can't be. There's no one here. No one. No one. Yet she could feel herself moving across the cold stone floor, moving steadily toward the confessionals, almost as though something were drawing her forward, some force against her will. She tried to stop, but she couldn't, tried to resist, but the pull seemed only to grow stronger. She stopped outside one of the doors. Byron? She tried to whisper, but the words stuck soundlessly in her throat. She could see the door cracked open, barely an inch, but she couldn't see what was inside. And yes, there was the sound again, like the faintest breath, the most feeble attempt at a sigh. Steeling herself, Lucy jerked open the door. The space was cramped and narrow, murky with shadows, and as she stepped tentatively across the threshold, she could see the small priest's window to the left, the bit of screen and gauzy curtain concealing it from the other side, the kneeler beneath it on the floor. The compartment stank of mildew. It was covered thickly in dust. No sins had been confessed here for a long, long time. See? Nothing. Just your imagination. Almost weak with relief, Lucy turned to walk out and saw the door slowly creak shut. Startled, she stared at it a moment, then gave it a push. The door didn't move. She pushed harder, then leaned into it with her shoulder. It wouldn't so much as budge. That's strange. She couldn't remember seeing a latch on the outside of the door, and it hadn't stuck when she'd yanked it open. Trying not to panic, Lucy tried it again, harder this time. Then harder still, but the door refused to give. Dust swirled into the air, choking her, irritating her eyes. She yelled and pounded on the walls. The space seemed to be growing smaller, the dust thicker, the high walls closing in. Oh, God, let me out of here! The thought briefly shot through her mind that no one would find her. Maybe not for days and days. Maybe not ever. She'd simply die here in the dark, in this tiny dark space, trapped in an upright coffin. "Byron!" Lucy screamed. There was a car parked outside, for God's sake. Somebody must be around. "Please! Please, somebody! I'm stuck in here! Let me out!" "Have you come to seek God's forgiveness, my child?" the voice murmured. Lucy went cold. Her fists froze upon the door. Her mouth gaped in a silent scream. Her eyes turned fearfully to the wall. She could see the priest's window, only now it was open. The curtain had been pulled back, and beyond the small screen was the dim outline of a face. A face, yet somehow, and even more terrifyingly, not a face. "Who are you?" Lucy choked out. Her back was against the door now, her knees so shaky she could hardly stand. It took every ounce of willpower to focus on that window and the featureless profile beyond. "Who are you?" "Your salvation." And she knew the voice, and he seemed to be all around her now, in the air, in the dust, in the echo of her heartbeat, in the thoughts inside her head, in the ice flowing through her veins. "You were at the festival," she realized. "Behind the tent, you were the one—" "Meant to save you," he whispered. "No more sorrow, no more pain, reprieve from the lifetime of loneliness that awaits you, redemption from yourself. Please." "I know how lost you've been without your mother." Tears filled Lucy's eyes, trickled slowly down her cheeks. "Why? Why are you doing this?" "It's no longer a matter of why. It's a matter of when. Of how." "I don't understand. I don't know you. I haven't done anything to you. Why don't you just leave me alone?" "But you have done something to me. We have a connection, you and I." The voice sounded mildly amused. "So let me ask you again. Have you come to seek God's forgiveness?" "Forgiveness for what?" she cried desperately. "For the places your heart will take you, where your soul cannot go." Without warning, the door came open. As Lucy stumbled out into the aisle, she grabbed the door of the priest's compartment and flung it open. But the darkness inside was empty, and the dust not even disturbed. Chapter 18. Lucy stood there, unable to move. Like a distant observer, she watched herself staring into the confessional, felt her slow-motion shock and disbelief, yet at the same time felt oddly detached from reality. As she wheeled around to run, a tall figure suddenly materialized from the shadows behind her, sending her back with a scream. "Hey, sorry," he laughed. "Didn't mean to scare you. Guess I should have yelled or something, right?" Before she could even react, the young man stepped closer, right into a narrow beam of light angling down from an overhead window. He had a friendly, boyish, dirt-streaked face and an equally friendly smile. Mid-20s, probably, broad, solid shoulders, slender build, thighs and arms leanly muscled beneath skin-tight jeans and the pushed-up sleeves of a grimy sweatshirt. His eyes were deep blue, fringed with long dark lashes. His thick brown hair, though dusted with cobwebs, still showed a few golden streaks of fading summer sun. He was slightly out of breath and carrying a large cardboard box, which he immediately wrestled down to the floor. Lucy gazed at him with open and hostile suspicion. The young man merely grinned. "Is there something I can help you with?" Lucy's gaze hardened. The stranger seemed oblivious. "Matt," he said, reaching toward her. "Oh, wait, sorry." He swiped his hand across the back of his jeans, then offered it again. "Matt. Well, Father Matt, actually. Well, Father Matthew, really. But you can call me Matt." Lucy was dumbfounded. "You're a priest?" He glanced around in mock concern. "Should I apologize?" And then, as she continued to stare at him, he added, "Hey, it's okay. I'm out of uniform. And you are—" Lucy said nothing. Matt gave a solemn nod. "Speechless," he said. "Lucy," she finally whispered. "Nice to meet you, Lucy. But I hope you weren't planning on confessing anything today, because as you can see, we're slightly out of service at the moment. Have been, actually, for years." Lucy's eyes narrowed. Was this guy for real? Was he telling the truth? She tried to concentrate on his voice. What would that voice sound like, low and deep and whispering? "Listen, are you okay?" Matt's smile seemed genuinely concerned. "Would you like to sit down?" "Where were you just now?" Lucy murmured. She saw his smile falter, but only for a second. "Sorry?" "Just now. Where were you?" Her voice was trembling from aftershock. She fought to keep it steady. She watched his glance flicker toward the confessionals, the altar, the empty pews behind him. "Just now?" This time he gestured vaguely with one arm. "Going through some closets in back. Sorry I didn't know you were here. Otherwise, I'd have been a lot more hospitable." "You didn't hear me yelling?" "Yelling?" Matt frowned. Then, as though a thought had just occurred to him, he pulled some headphones from the box and dangled them in front of her. "I've been lost in Mozart. Just pulled these off when I saw you standing here. What were you yelling about?" "I was—" Lucy's mind raced. "I was yelling to see if anyone was here." Matt's smile widened. "Well, now you know." He must be telling the truth. He wouldn't have had time to run from the confessional and grab that big box from somewhere and come back without me seeing him or hearing him or— "Is it my face?" Matt asked, deadpan. "Or are you having a religious experience?" Lucy snapped back to attention. "What?" "You're staring at me like I have horns growing out of my head or something." Flustered, Lucy looked away. "Are you alone here?" "Alone?" "Is there someone else here with you?" Matt's eyes made a quick survey of the church. "Not that I know of. Why?" "Nothing. I just thought I heard something, that's all." "Now you're making me nervous," he teased, though once more his eyes swept the room. "It was probably just me rummaging around back there. There's a major echo in this old place, and—" No, It wasn't like that. It was a voice.
A voice? Well, what did it sound like?
Lucy shook her head. He seemed sincere, but how could she know for sure? And if he really was who he said he was, then how could she explain something so totally unbelievable? For an instant, she dug deep into her memory, trying to recall the exact sound, the exact tone of that voice in the confessional, that voice at the fair. It could be Matt's voice disguised, just like it could be anybody's voice disguised. Or maybe it wasn't disguised at all. Lucy wrapped her arms about herself, suppressing a shudder. I must have imagined it. I thought I heard someone. This time Matt turned and took a good hard look toward the entrance.
Well, I didn't lock the door behind me this morning, so I guess it's possible someone could have sneaked in, kind of like you did.
This seemed to amuse him, especially when a slow flush crept over Lucy's cheeks. Quickly, she stammered out an explanation. I was supposed to be meeting someone.
Ah, a clandestine rendezvous. How intriguing.
Flushing hotter, she mumbled, It's not what you think.
No? And how do you know what I think?
Matt's eyes sparkled with humor, and he ran one hand back through his hair.
Maybe it was this friend of yours you heard. Maybe he really did show up, and he thought you weren't here.
And maybe I was a total fool for believing what Byron said and for coming here to meet him. I don't think so.
Well, maybe it was burglars, Matt said practically. And when they realized there wasn't anything to steal, they got disappointed and left.
Lucy was ready to change the subject. What happened to this place anyway?
Don't you know?
I'm not from here. I just came a few weeks ago to live with my aunt.
I see.
Matt leaned back against the wall, crossing his long legs, folding his arms casually across his chest. For a second, Lucy thought he was going to ask her some personal questions, but instead he said,
All I know is that a bigger, fancier church was built in the center of town, and that's when this place became, shall we say, a sort of ecclesiastical warehouse.
So you must remember when this place was really beautiful.
Matt shook his head. Actually, no, I'm not from Pine Ridge either. And in theory, I'm only supposed to be here temporarily.
In theory?
Well, that's what Monsignor is telling Father Paul at the moment, that I'm only here till he gets back on his feet.
Who's Father Paul?
The priest at the real church, Matt explained. He's old. No, let me rephrase that. He's ancient, and very set in his ways. He's been refusing to take on an assistant for years, but I guess you could say he finally got a dose of divine intervention.
How's that?
Matt chuckled. He fell down a flight of stairs. Then, at Lucy's look of alarm, No, he's fine. But now that he's got a broken leg, it's forced him to slow down and listen to reason.
And how does he feel about you being here?
Again, Matt laughed. Let's put it this way. Since he's been here for about 100 years and has a very particular way of doing things, I obviously am a complete and total moron. And just trying to wade through his particular way of doing things is probably going to take me the rest of my natural life.
Pausing, he gave Lucy a helpless look.
If he doesn't kill me before then. Like right now, I'm supposed to be looking for some statues he swears are stored down here in one of the cellars. But I can't seem to find the right doors, or the right keys.
He looked so distressed that Lucy couldn't help smiling. But as she caught a sudden movement from the corner of her eye, she gasped and spun toward it.
Hey, easy, Matt soothed her. It's just one of the cats.
Cats?
Yeah, there are a bunch of them in here. The cleaning lady's always bringing them in. Just call it environment-friendly rodent control.
As Lucy nodded uncertainly, he frowned and lifted a hand to her forehead.
You know, Lucy, maybe it's just this bad light, but you sure don't look like you feel very well. Why don't you sit down, and I'll get you some water?
His touch was firm but gentle. His fingertips skimmed lightly over her skin and carefully brushed a strand of hair from her eyes. With no warning, Lucy felt a strange, slow warmth pulse softly at her temples, flow like liquid to the back of her brain. Flowing, flowing, blood flowing, a dark red pool of blood on a floor, and something sharp, cutting, pain and blood and anger. "You hurt yourself," Lucy said. She stepped back and saw a look of dismay on Matt's face. "You hurt yourself, and it was very painful, and you bled for a long time." The throbbing in her head was gone now, but her body felt shaky and drained. She watched as Matt frowned at her, as he lowered his hand, as he stared at the long, narrow cut on his palm, and cautiously flexed his fingers. "Well, yeah, but it's okay now," he assured her. "I mean, it happened a few days ago. It's not infected or anything, if that's what you're worried about." Lucy took another step back, her emotions whirling. "He thinks I saw it," she realized. "Only I didn't see it. Not the way he thinks. Not with my eyes, but somewhere inside my head. And not exactly what happened. Just those flashes again. Flashes and feelings and colors and—" "Broken glass," Matt was saying, as she tried to quiet her mind, focus in, act normally. "From one of those windows. It sliced right through me. It hurt like hell." I'm sorry." Flustered, Lucy pointed to the front of the church. "I'm feeling better now. I need to go." But she could tell Matt wasn't convinced, even as she began walking away from him. "What about your friend?" he asked her. "Is he supposed to pick you up?" Lucy shook her head. "Well, how are you getting home?" "I have a car." "Look," Matt said kindly, "I'd be more than happy to drive you. Someone can come back later for your car." "No, I'm fine, really. But thanks." She was almost outside when he stopped her. She heard him call her name, and she turned to see him running after her, waving something in his hand.
"Lucy," he said again, catching up with her at the door. "I think you must have dropped this."
Lucy stared down at the thing he was holding, and felt her eyes widen in alarm. "I don't know anything about it," she said quickly. Too quickly, because she could see the way he was looking at her now, that quizzical expression on his face, as though he knew she was lying, as though he knew and was waiting for her to confess. She backed away, trying to put distance between them. "Sorry, it's not mine."
"Oh, that's too bad," Matt shrugged. "I found it on the floor near the altar. I just assumed it must be yours."
He gazed down at the necklace he was holding. A single strand of tiny green beads. "No," Lucy said again breathlessly. "No, it's not mine."
"Well, I guess I'll just leave it then, just in case whoever lost it comes back."
"Yeah, maybe." She hurried down the walkway, and she didn't once look back. But if she had, she would have seen him still standing there, watching her, even as he slipped the necklace casually into his pocket.